Okay, guys, in this video, I'm going to lay down some truths. Some very sad truths of the modern day. Some very, it's going to sound negative, but at the same time, it's the truth of things. And it's not really about being negative as in beliefs about dating, but I just want people to look at the bigger picture here and stop. The reason is I feel like we live in a time. See, I think we're drawn to negativity. Humans, we're actually very drawn to it. It's weird. You'd think, we'd be drawn to positivity and being happy and all that. But I actually don't believe that our nature is to be positive. I mean, we are a species that have survived because we kind of have to see that, you have to see the negative picture in some aspects of life. And the red pill, black pill, feminism, all of these things, all of these movements that are today, all of these things are simply coping mechanisms to deal with the realities of life, but also the realities, not everything, but it's also protected us. It's a protection thing. The thing about why I don't like the red pill isn't because necessarily all of it's wrong. I think some of it is right and some of it is reality, but a lot of it is just bullshit. And a lot of it is just people venting it's just people letting off steam. That's literally all it is. And it feels good to let off steam, and it can feel good to just blame other people. That's what people do. I'm not the problem in my life. It's not me. It's not the reason I'm addicted to PMO is not because of me. It's because I just can't get a girl, or I've been in there. I've been in that reasoning state for so long in my life, and I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm so sick of tired of these negative beliefs. I'm so fucking tired of not being able to talk to women. I'm at this point where I realize if I let go and I stop, because there's a lot of good influencers. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good guys in the red pill space. There's a lot of good guys in the nofap space, in the whatever space, self-development. But there's some things that they say that are just so bad and just so wrong, and they're going to keep you from growing. And I think the idea is they want you to keep watching their content, because at the end of the day, guys, these self-improvement YouTubers, they want to make money. I mean, they're improving themselves. We need to understand that, people who write these things, they say they want to help people, but it's not really true. And it's not because they're scammers. It's not because they're bad people. It's because they're doing what's best for themselves. And that's fine, but that doesn't mean that what's going to work for somebody else, like for example, Hamza. There's some things he says that are really good. There's some stuff he says that's just yeah, exactly. That's what you need to do. You're right. But I feel like my criticism of Hamza is that a lot of his videos are just really repetitive. Every video is just Jeffrey does this thing wrong, Adonis does right. It's just you can simplify most of his videos to that. And he makes a lot of good points, but at the same time, he has some very toxic points he makes, some very toxic things he says. And why I don't care for people like him in this space is because these people who are like this, they act like they do no wrong. They act like they're not trying to, they're on this journey, that they've already reached the mountain point, where obviously that's not, they probably don't think that, they probably don't understand that. But when you're influencing this many people, this many impressionable minds, you need to be careful what you're saying to them, and you need to be careful about some of the stuff you're saying, because sometimes you can put out the wrong message, and this has happened with Hamza. And he's gotten in trouble for this. And there's a couple other influencers that have done similar things where they say a lot of good stuff, and then there's a 5% things where it's just you can tell it's probably a negative belief or a negative thing, and that's their experience. We understand this is somebody else's truth. You can follow as many people, but you have to believe your own truth. I just want to emphasize that. There's a lot of influencers who just people worship them. They idolize them, and they don't really understand that what they're doing when they're idolizing someone. Andrew Tate, another person, who says some really great stuff, but he has also some really bad stuff he says, some really stupid things that he says, some really, I think, backwards things that he says. And I don't think, if you're really into traditional thinking, that's great. Honestly, I think I'm for traditional thinking, but I think we also need to progress a little bit above this. I think a higher sense of being for men would be, yes, we can have that traditional thinking. We should want that quality woman. We should want, a woman that's feminine, but I think we should also have a higher purpose beyond just treating somebody like a slave. I feel like the traditional way of thinking when it comes to women is women do this thing and then we do this thing. I think there's a way. I think we need to look for a balance here. Like, okay, we can have a house. You can have a housewife, but she can be a little independent. Like, that's cool. Like, honestly, I don't think men are completely against the independence that women want, because I think independence is great, because like, if you think about it, like a woman who's more independent, you don't have to like pay for as much stuff for her. I think that'd be really great to have, where you're not complete, like everyone's role isn't completely like this arbitrary thing where it's like the man pays for this and the woman makes the money, makes the food, and I think the non-traditional thing has just become too extreme. It's become imbalanced. It's like women don't understand their role now, and now men really don't understand their role. And so we need to, like, I think a newer way of thinking is like balance. It's like, okay, a man can still make the money, but the woman can work a job if she wants to too. And like, but it doesn't have to be this. I just don't think it has to be this black and white relationship where one guy does the other person, you know, one person does like, and the woman can't have any independence at all, and you have to guard her and make sure she's not cheating on you and all this. And I just think it's all so ridiculous. And if anything, I think it kills attraction. I think it'd be great, you know, I think the best relationships would be like to be in, ideal would be to have kind of like a balanced kind of traditional, like of a little bit of both, but not too much of either. Like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna like, I don't want, like, for instance, I don't really want the Muslim, like, no offense to anyone who's Islamic, I have nothing against Muslims, but I don't really want a woman to be like wearing a burqa and covered, and like she can't even go outside, and like can't be doing anything, and like has to be like hidden in her house, and just looks after the kids, cooks, and you can't even see her face, and like if she goes outside she gets like shot. I think that's just ridiculous. I'm sorry, that's just too much. Some traditions are just silly, and like they're not really like rooted in any logic. Like, it's just like at the time it made sense back then, but now it's like, come on guys, let's progress a little bit. Like, I think that's like there's the balance thing where I don't agree with conservative ideas, because it's like conservative ideas are good to a point. It's like conservative ideas, the reason they're being challenged is because they're not as efficient. Like, the world needs to advance, and I think we need to advance our ideas, and I think also, like, completely going against tradition also isn't a great idea either. Like, completely banning it leads to this situation where we're in, where people don't even know what gender they are. Like, we have to have some idea of order at the same time. It's like, no, there's two genders. No, there's not 28 genders, I'm sorry, or whatever. Like, that's just stupid, I'm sorry, and this is gonna offend a bunch of people, and, oh, you're transphobic, but it's like, dude, like you can be a trans, but like, go hang out with people who are trans. Like, that's perfectly okay. I think forcing yourself to hang out with a bunch of people that, you know, don't identify with your ideology, and like forcing your ideology down people's throats is never going to work. It's like the same if Christians are like, well, you should believe in Jesus. It's like, dude, like, I'm not going to do that, because I wasn't born into that religion, and it doesn't interest me. So let's have a balance here, guys. Like, because a lot of these guys, they force their beliefs down our throats. Like, that's the problem with self-development YouTubers. And I've seen very few that just say what they've experienced and are like, you're an independent person. I would example, like, the only ones that I've seen that are really just kind of like, yeah, this is advice that'll help you, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's your choice. You have free will. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of these people don't do that, and they don't make that clear. Like, I would say there's two guys in the self-improvement space who actually do that, and that's probably iSchool JT and Jordan Green, and Jordan Green doesn't even make videos anymore. But Jordan Green has a very good, compassionate way of looking at self-improvement versus some of these guys who are just too aggressive, in my opinion, who are just, and that appeals to some guys, and I understand that. I understand, because a lot of guys, they want this father figure. They really want somebody to like put them in their place and shame them. I don't really get it. Like, there's so many people who just simp for Andrew Tate. Like, they just idolize him, and I just think that's a little toxic. Like, you can agree with Andrew Tate's ideas. In fact, there's a lot of ideas I agree with when it comes to Andrew Tate. There's a lot of stuff he says that I'm like, yes, that's right. But there's some stuff that he does that I'm just like, I don't really care for that. I don't really like his hustler in the university. I don't think he makes money in a way that is like, would align with my ideals. I don't think there's a lot of stuff he says that aligns with my values. I don't really care for using, like, talking, the way he speaks about women is just, I understand I'm gonna get, oh, you're so beta, blue pill, but it's like, dude, like, if you're already talking like that, you're already like, you're clearly like, you're really not an alpha, like if you're like thinking, man, this is the way to do it, because this is the way. Just because we did things like this for thousands of years doesn't mean it's a good way. There's a reason that feminism has come to exist, because it's just not a good way to look at people. Like, let's just, oh, you have this gender role, you are my slave, you will do this, you know. And I get it, like some people want that, and I totally want to be the leader in that. Like, I understand the male role, but it's like, I don't want to treat a person like a slave. I still want to treat a person with respect. I know that's crazy. Like, I know that's not like accepted in the red pill space to think like this. You know what I mean? But that's the thing. You have to question everything. I question everything. I am not like, my ideas are in between conservative and liberal. I don't take either. I am not going to go to both sides, because both sides you get the insanity. You go to the conservative side, you're Nazi. You go to the left side, you're pretty much a Nazi too. Like, it's like, then like racism is on both sides. It's not some like, oh yeah, it's just it's nuance. Like, and nuance is like the hardest position to have, because you don't really commit to either side. You're kind of just like, okay, you know, I really want a just balanced life. I want to be centered. I want to be in a higher sense. I want to be in a higher sense of being than, I just think that Andrew Tate's great and women suck and I hate women. I just don't want to think that way. It just doesn't interest me, man. It's not going to be like, oh my God, guys, like, let's, and a lot of these guys, like I'm Hamza, Tribe of Men. The problem I have with especially Tribe of Men is that a lot of his videos, he's like coming here to influence men in a positive way, but at the same time, he makes these videos where he's just like, women are fucking idiots, where they are, like, at points. Like, women have been very, very influenced by a lot of bad ideas. And a lot of it has to do with immaturity, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that just in this modern day, we just don't experience enough. We just don't experience life enough. I feel like we're on our phones all the time. We're not like in reality a lot of the time. We're so in this echo chamber a lot of the time, where we're not really able to understand other ideas, other ways of thinking. We are so hostile and so dogmatic to anybody who disagrees with us that we don't really understand the importance of disagreement. We don't see the value of other people's opinions. We don't see the value. We only see ourselves, and I think that's the real issue with both sides of the spectrum. Like, you can be a feminist, fine, but understand men's issues. You can be a feminist and like be like, well, maybe we've gone too far. Maybe we're asking for too much. Maybe this isn't making sense anymore. Because I don't believe feminism is making much sense anymore. It doesn't really I think it's just gotten to this point where they're just fighting for things that they don't really need, you know? Everyone is just so entitled nowadays, and it doesn't matter what side you're on. Like, everyone is so entitled. I don't care what you say. Like, we live in a time of luxury, where things are just so easy that we don't understand that, like, we came from time, like, people have evolved from times where things were hard, and we are meant to, like, we've evolved to live in times that are hard. This time is weird. We've had such a point of peace because of the success of our civilization, because of the success. That success is not going to last forever. This is not normal. The peace that we've experienced is not normal. And I feel like that's kind of like jaded us, like as a species, as like not as a species, but like in particular in the West, we just have things so good that we have to look for the bad in things. And I'm just saying, there's so many good things about our lives, like that we take for granted, that we just aren't grateful for. There's so many things we need to just be grateful for, man. We need to be happy. We need to not be worried about if a girl is going to cheat on us. We need to understand that, like, that's obviously not an attractive way of thinking. So I don't think feminism is good, because feminism puts you in this negative space. Men are doing this thing, and then, you know, most of these women who think this way, they end up being cat ladies. Not everyone. I'm not trying to box everybody in, but a lot of the time they're going to end up alone. They're going to end up like cat lady. And the same thing is going to happen to men. If we continue with our bad beliefs, if we continue hating women, is this going to really get us the partner, or are we pushing it away? Like, are we loving ourselves by doing that? Like, I don't think so. I don't see how watching Andrew Tate or watching Tribe of Men or even watching Hamza is a higher point activity. It's addictive. It feels good when you watch a self-improvement video. It's addictive. It feels good. If, I'm learning something, I'm progressing, and you're not. You're really just watching a video on a TV. You haven't done anything. You're sitting right there wasting your life. If you should be just in the gym, yeah, you should be self-improving. But there's a lot of toxic content. That's all I'm trying to say. That's the point of this video, guys, is that you don't need to worship and idolize some self-improvement YouTuber. It's not going to get you what you want. You should be the person that people are idolizing. You should be the guy that people want to follow. You should be the one starting a YouTube channel that gets your truth out, because different perspectives are more important than anything. And I think Andrew Tate just being there, having people who espouse ideas and people worshiping everything he does is not a good thing. And the fact that a lot of men also seem to worship that show, they seem to look at Patrick Bateman from American Psycho as literally me. This means men are really not in a good place. If that is what literally a literal axe murderer, a movie about a guy who literally murders people, literally kills people, he goes insane and murders people because he works some shitty job, corporate office where it's like, and he's like clearly a sociopath. Literally, it's saying that most men are capable of being psychotic murderers, which is a troubling thing. And that's why I believe that this is where we are as men. Like men are really close to be, like, any man is capable of becoming a school shooter. Any man is capable of going into this, because I've been capable of this. Like, my mind, the negative mind, it is a demon. I really believe this. The resentment that men can feel when they're low status is a very dangerous thing, and I think it needs to be taken more seriously. The danger of men getting into their hole and being isolated is more dangerous to people than we would think. Angry men are very dangerous, and with people, with the way that society's going, it's not going to stop, unfortunately. We're not going to hit a point of peace, so we need to, we really need to love ourselves. That's the point. we need to chill out on this toxic content. It's not good for us. Anyway, guys, hope you're having a great day, and food for thought.